almost doesn't feel real to say out loud that Gleyber Torres is no longer a Yankee. He has officially left New York. He has joined a brand new team. And by the way, because of him signing with that new team, Spencer Torkelson is having a rough start to his morning. He might be out of a job right now. So we'll talk about that later in the video, as well as the fact that Cam Newton, yes, the Cam Newton, he said that baseball is a dying sport. I guess he realized that there's only a couple days left in 2024, and he wanted to put his name in the mix for the worst take of the year. It's really bad. Stay tuned for that. We have a few more things to talk about as well, but don't forget that this is MLB Recap. We give updates on the game of baseball almost every single day, so stick around. Hit that subscribe button. And one more thing, Recap is brought to you by SeatGeek and Underdog Fantasy. Use code Fuzzy. All right, let's start the video. We have two small little updates before we talk about Gleyber leaving the Yankees. First and foremost, Joe Ross. He was really good for the Brewers last year as a reliever. He's getting $4 million for 2025 to join the Philadelphia Phillies. And if Joe Ross, if that name sounds familiar, that's because back in 15 and 16, he was really good with the Nationals. He put up a 3.5 ERA his first 2 seasons before putting up a near 5 ERA from 2017 to 2023. Then out of nowhere in 2024, he was absolutely money in relief for the Brewers. He kind of had a Michael Soroka with the White Sox-esque 2024. Again, he was buns as a starter. Then he puts up a 1.67 ERA as a reliever. The strikeouts went up as well. Maybe he can shed that wisdom to Taijuan Walker, because Taijuan Walker has been an absolute bust for the Phillies, both as a starter and a reliever. Maybe Joe Ross can teach Taijuan how to be a reliever and unlock his stuff all over again. That could be a formidable duo in the Phillies bullpen of former starters turned to elite relievers. That could be fun, but that's the first small update. The second small update, this is coming out of the Rangers camp. The 6'4", 26-year-old behemoth and former top 100 prospect, Sam Huff, he's officially been DFA'd. Sam Huff used to be untouchable in trade talks. If you called the Rangers saying, hey, we'll give you player A for Sam Huff, the Rangers would just hang up. That's how much they believed in him. And honestly, he was pretty good in his short cup of coffee stints in the big leagues. Let me explain. Sam Huff exploded onto the scene in 2020. He hit .355 with 3 home runs in his first few games and had some of the best exit velocities and barrel rates of anyone in baseball. He was up there putting up Aaron Judge raw numbers. So far as a big league catcher, he's put up 10 home runs and a near 115 OPS plus in 78 games. And so unlike Joey Bart, who was let go by the Giants after being a super catching prospect, Sam Huff has been kind of good. The problem for Sam has always been the strikeout percentage in the batter's box, and defensively, he used to be awful at blocking. He has gotten better at that over the last few years, but he's got a really slow pop time, so he doesn't block really well, and he doesn't throw out a ton of runners, so he's not going to be a major league catcher going forward, at least in my opinion. But would you take a flyer on Sam Huff as a DH, as a first baseman? Because again, he has 55 doubles, and in AAA, that's over 249 games, so pretty solid production for what was a catcher. But yeah, Sam Huff is officially done as a Ranger. Now it's time to talk about Gleyber leaving the Yankees. Gleyber Torres is staying in the American League. He just signed a 1-year deal worth $15 million with the Tigers, and that's a pretty good deal if you ask me, if you're a Tigers fan. Gleyber just turned 28 years old, and by the way, there's a $500,000 bonus incentive if Gleyber is traded, and maybe that's what Gleyber is looking for, a short-term deal to really pop off in the first half, get traded to a playoff contender if the Tigers aren't able to replicate 2024, get a quick bonus of $500,000, and then go to a new team in 2026. Maybe that's the play. But it is done. Gleyber has posted a thank you on all of his socials, and to me, I thought he was going to be a forever Yankee after he came to New York in that Aroldis Chapman trade back in 2016. So the Yankees traded Aroldis for Gleyber, and then they signed back Chapman a few months later after he won the World Series. So they won that trade by a landslide. Does this mean that Jazz is going to play second base? Maybe Oswaldo Cabrera, DJ LeMahieu? I mean, they have options, but who's most likely to replace Gleyber at second going forward for the Yankees? But that's enough Yankee talk. Let's talk about what this means for the Tigers. Now, I guess the biggest question for Tigers fans, which version of Gleyber are you going to get now? He was special as a 21-year-old. He popped off for 24 home runs, again, at 21 years old. He went up to 38 home runs the next year at 22 years old. There was a meme forever, like, Gleyber's 22 years old. That was a meme. Gleyber Torres is 22 years old. He was a power phenom. He was going to put up Jeff Kent numbers offensively at second base. Unfortunately, though, after that, the power seemed to dip, and that kind of coincided with the juiced baseballs going away. So, juiced baseball Gleyber, he was special. Again, 24 home runs as a 21-year-old, 38 38 at 22 years old, so 62 home runs and a 5.11 slugging his first 2 seasons. Since that point, he has 76 home runs and a 4.11 slugging. Now, he did have 20-plus home runs in both 2022 and 2023, but that dropped to 15 this past season in 2024. The defense cratered as well. He was the worst defensive second baseman in all of Major League Baseball last year. He's going to take his walks. He doesn't chase that much. He gets on base 33 to 35% of the time. Again, you just don't know which Gleyber you're going to get. Are you going to get 30 home run, terrible defense Gleyber? Are you going to get 20 home run, decent defense Gleyber? Or are you going to get the worst version with no pop and bricks for hands like 2024 Gleyber? I guess for $15 million and a 1-year deal, you're going to take your chances, especially if you're the Tigers. You need a veteran presence in that locker room, and he does have 7 home runs with 25 RBIs and an 820 OPS his last 40 playoff games, so he does show up when it matters the most. At least he can say that. Here's one thing to mention about Gleyber Torres joining the Tigers. Scott Harris, the president of baseball operations with Detroit, has said that Gleyber will be the everyday second baseman and that Colt Keith, who they just gave a contract extension to, is going to be a first baseman. Spencer Torkelson plays first base. The infield is now as crowded as it can physically be. I mean, you have Javier Baez coming back. He's making a lot of money, so he has shortstop on lock just because the Tigers are going to try and unlock him. He's being paid way too much to release him or bench him. Matt Vierling played a lot of third base, but that is easy. He is an outfielder by trade, just sticking back in right field. You have a lot of time invested in Jace Young. You traded Jack Flaherty for a Trey Sweeney, so those are some of the younger players that could take some infield spots in 2025. And again, you just gave Colt Keith a contract extension. He hit .290 with 9 home runs and a .340 on base his final 70 starts last season. And again, Scott Harris has already said that Gleyber is going to be the second baseman. Colt Keith is going to be the first baseman. What does this mean for Spencer Torkelson? We're talking about a #1 overall pick 4 years ago in 2020. He's still just 25 years old, and he showed the #1 pick ceiling in the second half of 2023. He ended 2023 with a whopping 34 doubles, 31 home runs on the season, and the exit velocities along with the hard hit percentage were some of the best for any first baseman in the game of baseball. But not even a year later, Spencer ended 2024 with a .219 batting average, only 10 home runs. He was so bad and invaluable that he was demoted to the minor leagues in June, and he didn't come back until August. And the scariest part is the raw stuff completely vanished. The highly touted power numbers in terms of exit velocities and barrel percentages, they went away just out of nowhere. It just really seems like he forgot his swing path on how to barrel up a baseball, and even Fangraphs doesn't believe in Spencer. They have a projected opening day roster on their website, and they have Colt Keith sliding over to first base. Like Scott Harris, the baseball ops guy in Detroit, has already said, what does this mean for Torkelson? Is he trade bait? Hey, Torkelson is 25 years old. Again, he's got that #1 pick pedigree. He popped all the way off in the second half of 2023. I think he had almost 900 OPS in the second half in 23. If he is somehow available for trade, yeah, I'm going for Torkelson. Maybe he just needs a fresh start and someone in his ear to give him some confidence. Maybe he's not meant to be a Tiger. What do you make of all of this stuff? I guess one more thing I need you guys to comment on. Cam Newton, yes, the MVP for the Panthers, who would not dive on a fumble in the Super Bowl because he doesn't have that dog in him. He says that baseball is a dying sport, and he said that the WNBA would surpass baseball in 20 years. Never mind the fact that baseball has experienced record viewership and attendance over the last 2 years because baseball games are not 8 years long anymore thanks to the new rule changes. I don't know what ESPN puts into their buffet for all of their employees, but Stephen A. Smith, Cam Newton, who is now a First Take employee, if you work for ESPN, your brain just becomes pudding when you have a take on the game of baseball. It's wild. It just blows my mind that these talking heads think that baseball is irrelevant because they don't know how to talk about baseball. They've hired people that don't know how to come up with topics or title YouTube videos. I mean, I would work for free if ESPN or FS1 hit me up and said, hey, can you give Colin Cowherd or Stephen A. Smith or Mad Dog Russo topics to discuss on air? I would do it for free. Stephen A., Colin Cowherd, I have over 120 million views over the last 2 years only talking about baseball. Miss me with the irrelevant shit. Again, I will work for free. I will give you topics, hand-picked topics, and I will title all of your YouTube videos to prove to you that baseball is here, it's on the up and coming, the appetite is there, and you got to stop lying to your audience that no one cares about it. Cam Newton, dumbest take of the year. He earns it, in my opinion.